Welcome to New at NAMT, the next wave of musical theater writers, a series dedicated to spotlighting the emerging voices in musical theater. Every interview provides a unique glimpse into the creative minds behind the next big musicals. So, whether you're a producer, theater lover, or even simply curious about the future of musical theater, New at NAMT offers a front row seat to a new generation of writers. It's time to lower the lights, raise the curtain, and LX1, go on New at NAMT. I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff from Musical Theater Radio, and joining me each week is a rotating cast of NAMT alumni writers as our co-host. Now, before we get to today's interview, let's welcome this week's co-host, Justin Huertas. Justin, hello, how are you today?
I'm so good. Emotionally, I feel great. I'm a little under the weather. So I normally speak in a tenor, and today I'm a baritone, which is so fun.
There's nothing wrong with that. Expand your range. That's what you're looking at. That's the
Exactly,
best way to look at it.
exactly. I am so much more than what I appear to be.
Exactly. So now, before we get to talking to our guests, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to.
Yeah, so I'm a musical theater writer, playwright, composer, lyricist. I first got in touch with NAMT with my musical Lizard Boy. We were in NAMT's legendary virtual festival of 2020. And since then, we've just kind of been bouncing around a lot. We did a production in the Bay Area, TheaterWorks Silicon Valley, Hope Mill Theater in Manchester. We did Edinburgh Fringe. And then last year, we were off Broadway with Prospect Musicals, where we got 3 Drama Desk nominations, which is amazing. And now I'm literally coming to you from Ashland, Oregon, in the middle of our run here at Oregon Shakespeare Festival. So, just living my life and doing Lizard Boy.
That's fantastic. That was actually my first year of NAMT, and I got to see it. And that was, yeah, congratulations on that. And just getting to NAMT, but then having to deal with everything else from that year. And yeah,
That was crazy. We shot
yes.
music videos in our apartments. That was crazy. So, yeah, legendary.
Well, it'll be a little bit easier for our guests today, hopefully, in
Oh, yeah.
October. So now that we know you, Justin, let's get on with the interview. Today we are speaking with Jennifer Paz and Anthony Fedorov, the creators of the musical Proud Marys. 3 daughters shake up the strict traditions of their religious Filipino-American family when they all get knocked up out of wedlock at the same time. Proud Marys is a seriocomedy that busts wide open the myth of the model minority Asian American family, one pop song at a time. It's Six meets a Philo-Am Fiddler on the Roof. Let's welcome to New at NAMT, Jennifer and Anthony. How are you guys?
Hello, we're
Hey
great.
everybody.
Hey everyone, it's great to be here. Hi Justin, it's so good to see you. You are
So
just
good
like,
to see you too.
yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, this is really exciting, and I'm smiling ear to ear seeing Justin's face. It's so full circle.
Yeah, no, we haven't seen each other since what,
Yeah.
like 20, I don't remember, 2014,
Oh
2015.
my gosh. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so we're coming to you live from Southern California, where we have survived a handful of earthquakes these last couple of days.
Yeah, it's been a little
So,
nutty.
As
anyway.
beautiful as California is weather-wise, I'm staying in Toronto. No typhoons, no hurricanes, no earthquakes. I'm just stay here for a while.
I'm
But
shaking things up. Yeah, here we go.
all right. Now, before we get to the musical, let's get to introducing yourselves to the listeners. Now, Jennifer, let's start with you.
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up in Seattle, which is how I know Justin. And it's coming back to me now. We did In the Heights together at Village Theater. That was back in 20.
Yes.
Okay, back. But I was born in the Philippines, and my family immigrated to the States when I was 5. I'm the youngest of 4. But my journey in the arts started at a very young age. I was like doing Filipino folk dancing that my parents put us into just to like be in touch with our culture. I sang in choir in high school and I played violin. But it was all just kind of a hobby because I was really shy growing up. But all that changed when I went to an open call audition and booked a national tour like right before my sophomore year of college. And I decided to take a gap year so I could go on that tour. And that gap year now has lasted over 30 years. So I've worked mostly in regional theater. I've lived in New York for a hot second in the 90s when I did Les Mis then, and I did a few workshops. I've also worked on a handful of new works. Did we do some at Village, Justin? I can't even remember.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There was a musical called Sacagawea that we did together.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Sacagawea. I love that you pronounce it Sacagawea because the writer was very adamant about that it's Sacagawea, not Sacagawea.
Yes.
Yes. So we
Wow.
did that. Wow. So I did some voiceover work, TV and film stuff, again, mostly in the 90s and early aughts. But it's really been in the last decade that I pivoted into writing and producing. But I like to call myself a recovering dead ingenue.
All right. And who is Anthony?
Who is Anthony? Well, I was born in Yalta, Crimea, and immigrated to the States at the age of 9. I kind of split my time growing up between Philadelphia and New York, and I got my start performing in Russian restaurants all the way up until I auditioned for American Idol back in 2005. It was actually season 4. Finished top 4, and at that point, I didn't really know much about musical theater because I came from a pop world. But all that changed when I got my first taste of musical theater during the Fantastics. I booked the Fantastics off Broadway shortly after the show. And there's actually a really funny story about that. So I was really amped up for my opening night. I ended up slicing my hand open on a belt buckle. And I sang the entire opening number with just like a gushing bloody hand. I still have the scar in between my knuckles here, and every time I look at it, I'm like,
I didn't know this story. Yeah, you
yeah,
showed it to me recently. I was like, wait, what?
This is how I got the bug for musical theater. And honestly, from that moment on, I was hooked. And both as a performer and now a writer, it's been such an incredible journey in the world of musical theater. And yeah, I've been doing it ever since.
That is wild.
A splashy, bloody entrance.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. What a way to join the ranks, honestly. I am so excited to learn more about Proud Marys. I've been, watching this journey from afar because we're all friends on Instagram as well. And I've just been like watching everything that happens with you guys. Proud Marys is a musical that explores the impact of breaking away from traditional values within a religious Filipino-American family, which is something that I very deeply relate to. Can you tell us what inspired you to tell this particular story?
Okay, I'll start with this one because this one definitely has several moving parts. Back in 2014, Jen and I independently released an album of songs about our journey as first-time parents, and this album was called Every Little Thing. And so we used to have a duo called Organics. And sidebar, we ended up having a viral hit with a song from that album called I Poop. So yeah, it like through Alexa, it's gotten over 24 million streams and counting. Literally, that song has kept the lights on for us for the past, I don't know, 8 years. And so yeah, kids, if you have Alexa at home, just say, Alexa, play I Poop, and you'll help out the Fedorov Foundation here. Yeah, and it's been.
But fair warning.
Yeah, fair warning.
Sorry.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was the most random thing because when Amazon first came out with Alexa, we started getting like these constant notifications from YouTube about that particular song.
Yeah.
And the comment section was like, oh my gosh, my kids were telling Alexa to make fart noises or random things like, I poop. And this song came on, it's the worst thing ever. Or, oh my gosh, I was scolding my dog for pooping in the house and Alexa randomly started playing this song. What the heck? Now I can't get it out of my head. So yeah, but looking back now, we realize that this early release served as like sort of the beginning ideas for Proud Marys. And then fast forward, the second part to this, in 2016, we were expecting our second child. Our son was 3 at the time, he's now 11. Long story short, I've dealt with some reproductive challenges over the years, so it was quite a wonderful surprise that we were able to even conceive again. But sadly, we lost the baby, and I miscarried, and it was around that time that I just started writing. Like it just all just started coming out. And so a very early vomit draft of Proud Marys first came out as a TV writing sample, just a comedy of all things, because as my writing mentor at the time pointed out to me, I like to joke my way through my trauma. So in essence, each sister in this story is a reflection of my own journey of finding that work-life balance and the pressures of having a family, and how I've sort of broken away from what that looks like traditionally, and how I, grew up and what was expected of me. There was, a particular order I was supposed to do things, like finish college, get a job, meet a nice partner, get married, then start a family. So yeah, no, I didn't do certain things in the way that was expected of me. So was the inspiration of Proud Marys.
The music of Proud Marys combines many different musical styles. Now, how did you approach blending these diverse musical styles, and how do you enhance the storytelling and emotional impact of the show?
I guess the way we can answer how we've combined the different musical styles is to talk about our writing process itself, which took us, quite some time to find our groove. It's interesting to work with your spouse, your significant other. So it took us a while to find our lanes, but because the story came first, right? And then the storylines come first for me. And I usually pitch Anthony the style and tone of the song that I need for the scene or conversation. Like I'll suggest key phrases and lyrics, and then Anthony will take that and just come up with an entire arrangement, and then we'll go back and forth until we land on something together. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't until it does. Yeah, and plus I'm like a sucker for a good hook. So give me heart, hook and heart, hook and heart. What's the hook and heart?
Yeah, and speaking of a hook, so for me, in order to blend different musical styles together, I have to flush out the hook first. That's one of the things that I learned kind of coming from a pop background as a writer. But the hook doesn't come until I know what's happening in a scene, as Jen mentioned. So once Jen writes a scene, she'll bring it to me. She'll tell me what she needs to accomplish by the end of it, and that's when I start visualizing the music and sort of what it wants to say to support the story. And no matter what style I'm writing, the goal is to make sure that every element in the music pushes the story forward. What I like to say, one compartmentalized hook at a time. And every note is intentional to support the emotional impact of the piece. And no matter what, everything has to start and end with a hook for me. Because to me, really, the hook is the thing that makes the audience remember the story. Mm-hmm. And, in coming from a pop background, it's like this never-ending challenge and this never-ending fun journey for me to sort of flush out that hook and heart of every number, and how can I balance out the two.
I love that. I love hook and heart. I'm, as a writer myself, that's not a phrase I've actually heard. Those words put together in that way, and that's awesome. I'm gonna write that down. That's awesome.
Think about it. Some of the greatest musicals that's ever written, you always you remember those numbers because of there's a melodic hook, and then you get to the heart of that number. And that I feel like if you asked us give it to us in one sentence, what is your writing style? Our writing style is hook and heart.
Yeah.
Try to be.
We try to
be. Sounds like you're doing it quite successfully. So Jen, you've mentioned that earlier that Proud Marys draws on your own personal experiences and your observations about reproductive health and the kind of cultural double standards in the Filipino-American community. I'm curious, how did these experiences shape the actual narrative? And what message do you hope to convey about women's rights and family planning through this narrative that you've created?
Oh my gosh, that sounds so heavy. I swear to God, it's a comedy. First of all, a lot of self-help books. This show is, yeah, loosely based on my experience getting pregnant at an advanced age, which by the way is 35, if y'all didn't know. So the journey of, you know, women's physical and mental health is at the heart of this story and each sister's journey. You know, it's about the choices we make and learning how to advocate for ourselves in a culture that typically honors suffering in silence. You know, we don't usually talk about these things in API communities. So it's about women who had to privately make difficult decisions about their physical health. And after personally experiencing a miscarriage myself, you know, and looking into options for a safe DNC, I was startled to learn about certain states that require you to wait for the procedure because of laws that, you know, quote, require a waiting period between abortion counseling and the procedure. So the fact that there were certain decisions I couldn't make about my own body, like, really hit me. So from having personally experienced the pain of miscarriage and then researching on my own, I was like, became like a nerd about it, and learning about other women's reproductive journeys. You know, one thing always remained clear, that it is the woman's right to choose what she can do with her own body. So, you know, the show unapologetically tackles these nuanced conversations about family planning, high-risk pregnancies, miscarriage, adoption, and raising a modern family within the lens of a devoutly Catholic Philam family. So I wanted to examine what dysfunctional family dynamics are triggered by milestone moments like a pregnancy. And I thought, hey, let's knock up 3 daughters out of wedlock and see what happens. So that's the genesis of all that. Yeah.
The show has evolved from a TV pilot to a stage musical. What were some of the challenges in adapting the material for the stage?
The big challenge for me was, because it started out as a half-hour TV pilot writing sample, which was non-musical, by the way, and then morphed into a 1-hour musical pilot when I incorporated, you know, a catalog of both our existing songs that we released and songs that were just sitting there in Anthony's catalog.
I literally came home one day and she was just like, so
I've appropriated some of your songs.
It's just
Don't mind me. It was like, I like to say it was like Avatar, like it was like they just fit, like the songs like fit with this character. Yeah, it was crazy. So
for our listeners, Jen has taken her ponytail as an example, as an Avatar illustration, and hooked it up to Anthony's songs.
Yeah,
pretty much that's how it works.
Yeah. So so the big challenge then was then reformatting these storylines and the mechanics of the script itself, you know. So like in television, when you're pitching, you have like a show Bible. And basically it lays out like the story arcs of each character. So originally I had Bibled out the show as a 2-season, 8-episode limited series. And I was following that format. And I remember like a theater asked me, you know, what is this? And I'm like, well, what do you want it to be? And at that time it was just a TV show. And this artistic director was like, can you deliver me a full book musical? I was like, yes, I can do that. And I was like, can I do that? Can I do that? But, you know, so it was following this format of an 8-episode limited series. And I had to reconstruct it, because at the time when I was writing it as a TV pilot, I was watching a lot of Fleabag at the time, and I love that format. Correct address to the camera, etc. Love that show, and it kind of then translated so well because I'm able to now take the eldest sister, which she's kind of like the protagonist, and she does a direct address to the audience. But the big challenge was then condensing all these story arcs, which with each character, into a 2-act musical play for the stage. And I did that like in a month.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was with East West Players. So who then we did a 29-hour reading with back in March of 2013 when we got the Frank Young Fund NAMT grant for them. So thank you, East West Players, for the early development support. That was a great challenge. I was like, challenge accepted. So yeah, I put it all together.
Amazing. That's amazing. And like, yeah, what a process to go from like 8 episodes to a 2-act musical. That's wild. And speaking of all of these like kind of developmental milestones, you've had NAMT's Frank Young Fund Writers Residency grants at East West Players. You've had a residency at the Goodspeed for the Goodspeed Johnny Mercer Foundation Writers Grove. What is on the horizon? What are you hoping for next with Proud Marys?
Well, we began this concept album that we've been sitting on for a while, so we'd love to partner up with a commercial producer for finishing funds for an all-star Halo Halo tape concept album release. That would be pretty incredible.
Great. And shout out to Goodspeed, the Johnny Mercer Foundation, East West, Cinema Sala. Also, we had a great early table reading with them, Cinema Sala and Film Arts, two wonderful Los Angeles-based film organizations. But yeah, ultimately, we're hoping to partner with a right fit team who are in alignment with the cultural value, as well as hopefully the commercial appeal of this piece. I mean, my dream, I'm just gonna say it out there, is like a co-pro, with, and do a rolling world premiere with these regional theaters that I mentioned. So in essence, it is a story about a family, about women's physical and mental health. It's pop music with elements of Latin pop, contemporary musical theater, and Filipino Rondalla in the orchestrations. It's situational comedy, but we also tackle some serious issues. So finding a right fit producing team that sees that cultural significance would be fantastic. So it's a lot of genre bending, halo halo, which is Tagalog for mix. So we're hoping to just partner with someone who recognizes that and can help guide our genre bending and cross medium potential aspect of Proud Marys. We're hoping.
Yeah, so that's the goal.
That's the goal.
Well, when the concept album is done, I might have some connections to a radio station that plays musical theater songs. So I can put them in. Yeah.
You might know someone,
Maybe. We'll talk. It was great meeting you guys today and hearing all these stories about you. And the show sounds fantastic, and I can't wait to see it in October, next month. Jeez, it's not that far. So the question is, where can people learn more about you before the NAMT Festival? The websites, the socials, etc.
Yeah, no, the website is under construction, but there is an IG that I have to I watch you, Justin, in your process. You Gen Zs are so good with the social media. But yeah, it's at Proud Marys _official, and I'm at Jennifer Paz official on Instagram.
And I'm at Anthony Fedorov Music on Instagram, and Fedorov. I should write a whole song about how it's Fedor instead of ER, because 99.9% of people misspell my last name with an E. So it's at Anthony Fedorov if you pronounce it phonetically.
I always
Anthony
pitch to him
Music.
he should write a song like Liza with a Z, not with a S. Fedorov with an O, not with an E.
Yeah. So at Anthony Fedorov Music is where people can find me on Instagram for all the latest developments.
Thank you so much, Jen and Anthony, for joining us today and introducing listeners to the two of us to your musical Proud Marys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course, we also want to give a huge thanks to this week's incredible co-host, Justin, for joining us today as well.
Thank you so much for having me, and thanks for bearing with the scratchy baritone that is
I love
my voice.
The range is so good.
You'll find.
Once again, I am your host, Jean-Paul Yovanoff, and on behalf of NAMT and MTR, thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the theater.